Okay, so let's get to spraying. So I'm choosing to do this particular scheme, which is the for no particular reason, I guess, other than it's got a lot of different colors on it. So it's got the RLM 7475 on the wings, and it's got the RLM 8281 on the fuselage. So a good mix of colors. And I know there's a lot of controversy about late war Luftwaffe colors, and apparently this mix here is a bit of late breaking research.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it looks interesting, and I'm looking at this more from an artistic lens than a historical one. So it may be correct, it may not be, but I think it looks good. I also like the two-tone RLM 76. So it's got the traditional bluish tone and then kind of like the duck egg green tone, which I've already put on the model.
Why was that?
Maybe they just ran out, or they came from different factories, or who knows, right? So many things were up in the air towards the end of the war. So I'm going to start spraying. So I've already done the green. Now I use the color callouts. Again, I think I've said this before, but I'm a big fan of the lacquer paints. Whether it's the Tamiya range of lacquers or the Gunzy range, and the Gunzy range has a lot of great colors, and they keep adding to it. They seem to be keeping adding to it on a regular basis. They also give you the acrylic callouts, but the main reason for that is this, which is the leveling thinner. I just find it works really well. I'm a big fan of it. If there's anything that I'm doing from a finishing standpoint, it's getting thin with leveling thinner. Now the nice thing about the Gunzy paints and the Tamiya paints is even their acrylics can be thin because they're acrylic lacquers.
But why do you prefer those than the acrylics? Is it a smoother finish?
It's a smoother finish.
Oh, okay.
It comes out easier out of the airbrush.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't. I still stick to.
Now the problem is
acrylics.
They stink and they're toxic. So you need to have a spray booth and you need to have a mask. Now, when we do it in here, we have neither, but we're not doing a lot, and we're not doing it for a long period of time. And as soon as we finish, we open up those doors and we air this place out.
Yeah, we're in a heated garage, but we are in a garage.
But
wear a mask.
If you're spraying acrylics, you got to wear a mask. You got to do the right thing. Wear a mask, and you need to vent it. So even if you have a mask but you're not venting, that's a problem. Don't do it. You need to get an airbrush booth that vents it. Yeah, proper one that vents it outside through a window, right? There's all kinds of kits.
Not your COVID mask.
Yeah. So now that we've had that health and safety moment, so I thin the paint. My typical thing is it's about 40% paint or 30-40% paint to 60-70% thinner.
You like more thinner.
I like more thinner. I like to get it.
You like going in layers then.
Oh yeah, and now another benefit of that is because of this pre-shading that I've done. So now I'm just working on the fuselage. So I've kind of masked off a few areas that have, at least it seemed to me from the instructions here, have hard edges. But normally, I don't like to mask things off because I don't like the hard edge. So I'm just going to work, and I'm just kind of building up. Like the nice thing about using the lighter. And this is the RLM 81, which is the brown violet, and they're recommending. So there's an RLM 81 in the Gunzy range, but they're recommending that you add, it's 80% this and 20% red brown, just to make. And to my eye, it looks better. I was kind of really, before we got on camera, I was kind of going back and forth with Harvey on this, that I thought the colors were off, but once you mix them, it looks pretty good. It looks like brown violet to my eye. I also contemplated using the AK one, but I just find I have no problems with these, where this one sometimes.
These are acrylic. AK's acrylic.
They're acrylic, but you can thin it with the lacquers.
You've used this with AK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks good. That's the only way I'd use it.
I use their own thinner for AK.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try using the leveling thinner with AK.
So I'm just building up very light coats.
I do see the difference now that you've mixed those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
I do.
Surprising.
I think it's. Now I'm not a Luftwaffe expert, but it does look.
Does look right.
Does look right. Because I was there, Dave.
You were there?
I was, in a previous life.
I
was a Luftwaffe pilot.
Right?
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Sorry for your luck. Now I'm not. I'm just. Again, I'm not using a mat. I just have tape where I have hard appear to have hard edges.
Yeah, I noticed that you're not doing a full coverage. You're letting it kind of show through, giving it a little variation, almost like a modulation in itself.
Yeah, because you want to let those, you put all this work into the underlying.
Yeah, you don't want to cover it, right?
You want to cover it.
Yeah. You kind of wonder how they came up with those colors back then. Was there some sort of scientific to say, hey,
That's a great question.
these are colors that make sense in air combat?
So so I'm spraying at about 12 psi. I've got the MAC valve on this where I can I can adjust on the airbrush.
So what airbrush is that?
It's an HPB.
So that's a 0.3 millimeter.
0.2.
0.2 millimeter. Okay, tip.
Now I have a Revolution, a 0.3 Revolution. I could use a Revolution as well.
Yeah.
Right, because they're just...
Yeah. Now I also have a custom micron. I'm just saying, but I only find those useful for modeling. Yes. But as he's spraying, I think if you are serious about the hobby, I find the Revolution a great brush. You want something with a 0.5, 0.3, 0.2 type brushes.
Yeah, I got two Revolutions. I got the 0.5 and the 0.3, and the 0.5 is great for the gloss coat we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
And priming.
Let's talk about that as you're doing that. You said that you bought a Pash.
Single action, yeah. So Pash H or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tried it.
Okay.
I might sell it.
I still have mine. My go-to is an HP.
Have you tried it, or is it?
I have. It's okay. It's a single action. It's good for overall coats, but I find it a little bit difficult to clean.
That's right. Now I'm always going back and looking at the reference here just to see how far I go over in the green. But you can see I'm just building it up.
It's beautiful. It's really that's a nice color. I find myself, I tend to go over the modulation too much. Every time, oh man, I lost it.
That's why you got to. That's why you build it up.
Yeah.
Right. So you go thin layer, low pressure, or lowish pressure,
close to the surface.
Close to the surface.
Yeah.
And that's just going to help with your demarcation.
Demarcation, isn't that a line in what's that movie with James Colburn in it? Iron Cross. Demarcation. That's the password. You remember?
Is it? No, I don't remember.
At the last episode, demarcation. Yeah. Anyways, I'm always off topic.
Again.
Yeah, that's pretty close, and that's a pretty tight line too between the colors.
I mean, you see it. You can see it. I'll show maybe on this camera up here. You can see where I have. It's not bad.
Would you use the blue tack stuff for that? You're doing a freehand.
I am. So I might use the blue tack on the wings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Not only the blue tack, I love it, but it does give a consistent pattern of.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe you don't want that in some cases, but well.
Yeah, and sometimes they would throw. I know for RAF aircraft, they had mats that they would throw, these masks that they would throw on the aircraft, so you got a bit of a harder edge.
Yeah.
But I don't like a harder edge. It just doesn't look right.
There's if guys are watching, there's a couple of photos. I can't remember the resource, but it's a Key 61 Tony, and the modeling on the side of the fuselage in real life, in the real period photo, was applied so heavily that it drips. You could see the paint dripping from. Have you seen that photo?
Yeah, I've seen. Well, I don't know about that specific one, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But the thing is, if you did that on a model at a show, the judges would nail it.
You'd have to horrible.
But
you'd have to show a picture.
You'd have to show a picture. But it happened. These guys were not just apply. Oh, that's got to be beautiful. Except for Italian aircraft, they were exotic. But sometimes you have a photo, replicate the photo.
Yeah. And again, it kind of, there's the debate of how weathered was the aircraft.
Yeah, for sure.
It depends on the subject.
Yeah, well, at this time of filming, I just finished my B-17 Swoos, and I used period photos for the weathering. And, it's heavy, but...
That's what it was.
What it was, yeah. I mean, maybe I'll do a separate episode on that. A shout-out for myself. Okay, it's in Scale Aircraft Modeling Part 1 and 2, February-March issue, but you'll see the weathering I did on it. But again... I use photos, and there's a theory that they thinned the paint prior to Pearl Harbor, on those B17s with seawater. So you never know.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You gotta really
use
check
your photos. I mean, that looks pretty good though. There's a lot of photos of 109Ks with this scheme.
But there's not a lot of color photos, so you're kind of interpreting, and sometimes the photos will show it from the side, but they don't show it on the wings.
Yeah, and anything with a color recolorized photo, it's tough, right?
I don't know if it's...
You don't know if it's accurate or not. The only thing you can tell by those is the contrast in some areas where you can go high or low, but it's really tough to match colors. But then I think we've moved away from FS numbers as we did the hobby 20 years ago, right?
Well, and it's, like I used to be a victim of this, and I've talked about this before, about, just being a slave to the color.
Yeah.
And, just what looks right to your eye. And there's, especially, maybe a little bit less on aircraft, I think a little bit more exact. Mm-hmm. But, they were subject to the elements.
They were.
Armor was subject to the elements, and mud, and like how many shades of olive drab are there, really? Well,
talking about olive drab, and again, back to the B-17 swoosh I did, I chose 3 or 4 olive drabs, and when you look at it from afar, you can't tell what the FS color is because it's all different.
Yeah. And it's funny,
that's beautiful.
Like I'll use, I've ordered masks, and I have masks for certain camo patterns that I might use, but I'll always use, I'll never put them right on. I'll put some blue tack, or just raise them a bit so you get that feathered edge.
Yes, true.
I've got some coming in the mail for my other 109. So when I get those, we'll try those on camera.
Were the RAF schemes, a la Battle of Britain, on the Spitz and Hurricanes, were those hand applied or airbrushed? I don't know. I'm asking. Right?
I think they were brushed, but they had those mats that they would throw down.
Yeah, I see. And I guess it's a modeler's artistic representation by using the blue tack and having a bit of a feathered edge.
Yeah,
I presume.
Exactly.
That's looking great.
Yeah, this goes down a fair bit. But it's but after once you get practice with the airbrush, you almost
You're in close. I'd say you're in about 4 or 5 millimeters.
Yeah. I'm just building it up.
And I think that I'm hearing that pressure is really low.
Yeah.
Sounds about an 8 psi to me.
Yeah.
Sorry about the humming, guys. That's the little compressor.
Trying to get it.
That's looking good. That's really looking. That's really looking.
So let's go do the next one. So this is all going to be free. There's no masks here. So this is all freehand. Actually, I might remove this guy.
Remove what?
Remove this mask.
Oh right. Yeah.
Let's serve this purpose.
Modeling is like 90% masking and 10% painting in some cases.
Yeah, so I'm going to soften the edge on that a little bit.
Right.
Because that's too hard. Start building up the color.
Yeah, I can see you're going on real thin and you're going in squiggles.
Yeah, I'm just kind of building it up.
Yeah, without trying to overcoat the previous modulation.
Well, this comes down for a bit. Actually, I might even have to come lower on the green, so I'm going to have to go back and do the green.
Yeah, it looks like it's lower.
So I'll just kind of, frame this. So when you have it low pressure and you're spraying thin, you can and you just kind of build it up.
I also find that sometimes if I find the color is too monochromatic, that I apply lighter or darker on top of that. So it's almost like a post modulation. Give it a little more depth.
You can, yeah. I mean, you can go back and forth.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I was talking to Jerry yesterday about this, Jerry Brennan that is, and I was asking him, do you do, and he says, no, I just paint and then I do it after the fact. All right, so he builds it up after the fact.
Right.
Like he doesn't bother with the.
Oh, he doesn't bother with the modulation.
Like he does it after. It isn't like he doesn't do the black bass and
I see.
And then do the modulation like I did.
Yeah. I do find that if you do this method, you got to be careful because you could lose it, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Without.
Yeah.
So I do both.
And the nice thing is you can always go back and fix. Like if I go over where I shouldn't, I can just go back to the green and fix that. Yeah. It's not an issue. No
but
panic.
I do find. Would you say that modulation now? I think is mandatory to the process, right? To make it.
I think so.
Live. You wouldn't. I just find that looking at the older models they did when they didn't do it, they just die. Even though,
Yeah.
it's maybe they didn't do that like that.
And you just kind of built. Like, see,
That's nice. That's beautiful.
they just built that up
that's
gradually.
nice. And you liked this kit, yes?
Oh, this is great. Yeah, it flows together. Finally, Edward got it right on the very last 109 in their range,
And what was right about it?
which is moving putting the wing join along a panel line as opposed to having this, having this join where there was no panel line.
Right.
Like, why did it take them?
Yeah.
I don't understand why. Like, why? Even the Tamiya does the same thing. Like, why not just put it back? I don't know.
More and more companies are doing it. You were looking at my new 135th Borders Kate.
What a beautiful!
It's like there's a spine that you don't have to fill the seam because they've done it on a recessed panel line. It's like, now I know why you guys do these to me and Edward kits rather than me doing a limited run resin, resin.
You're nuts.
Well, it just gives you a
is.
unique aircraft, but I can see.
You're a glutton.
I'm looking at that Kate going, this one's going to be easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's they're getting smart. And even that Dragon 109E that has like a one-piece fuselage.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
apparently, I heard they might have missed there's a natural panel line along the spine and
Correct.
underneath, and they might have missed that.
But that's easier to scribe than to fill with filler and.
Yeah, but that's what because that's the hard part.
Do you have that kit?
No, it hasn't, I don't think it's coming.
Oh. I think a lot of manufacturers are now looking at the same technology to make it along, panel lines.
Yeah.
And again, this comes back to contest, because you build one of those things, it's way easier to pass the sniff test with judges, because the kit's done the work for you, whereas you got to fill a seam, it's prone to error.
That's right, it is. And that's a whole.
It's another debate, right?
And you've talked about this, about how the hobby is shifting from building to finishing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's become. I mean, you think about our whole society. We've become so disposable, right? Where like growing up, we'd buy an appliance, it would last 30 years. Now you're lucky if you get 5 years out of a fridge or something,
true.
right?
That's true.
So everything's going that way.
I'm redoing my basement right now, Dave, as you know, and it's got heaters in there that are 40 years old, and they still work.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to have my hobby room down there. So, I see what you're doing. Yeah, you're going little area, squiggle.
Yeah. Just build it up gradually.
Yeah, build it up.
So you're not losing the underlying.
Many ways to do this, as long as you enjoy the hobby.
Exactly. And again, just checking your references here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where that's that goes over a little bit more.
A minor thing, when I do that, David, is I have a little stand for the instructions. It's like a pedestal.
Oh, that's smart.
See? If you don't go that route, I tape it to before that. I could tape it to the close to me on the wall so I can see it. But mind you, we're doing this live and here in the garage. I love that. That's great.
There you go. So I'll finish. I don't want to spend too much time on camera here, but I'll continue working.
I can see the modulation coming through.
Yeah, it's kind of.
And I guess the thing to remember is it's got to be fairly consistent, right? You don't want to have one modulation showing through and the other one's covered.
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes you may go back over this and
That's your eye.
test it out and whatnot. But I think we're.
Looks good.
I'll just go back and finish this up a bit. I don't know. I like having the freehand.
I do too.
I think it looks better.
Yeah, it does. It does, because let's just say use the blue tack. It's it's consistent.
It's
very consistent. It depends, I guess, on the subject.
Yeah, it depends on the subject.
Like I do a lot of Japanese and Italian, and then especially the Italian stuff, it's all freehand. I can't use blue tack. It's just this.
Well, some of the it's too intricate.
It's too intricate.
You'll be there forever masking.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the more you use an airbrush, the better you're going to get with it.
Yep.
Right. It's just That's just how it is. Just kind of build this up.
You gonna take that to the Nats, you think?
Well, it depends how she turns out. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Now we are now at this filming. We're in late February, so there's still time.
I want to bring some aircraft, something from the aircraft to the Nats. I don't know what yet.
Oh, when we say Nats, IPMS USA National Convention.
Yes.
In 2024 in Madison, Wisconsin. We will be there, and we hope to talk to you about models there.
Come and introduce yourself
Yep.
and say hi. And
Yep.
There.
It's mediocre, but it'll do.
You know, not bad.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Yeah, it's nice. It's perfect. You can see the modulation show.
Yeah, it's still
there.
Still there.
Yeah.
So what I might do is I might add a bit like a like a tan colored thing or something to this to
Yes. On top.
on top
To give it a little more.
a little light, pop it up.
Yes, nice.
You know, like I did with the green.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's it. So we'll I'll continue doing the rest of this off camera, and then next time maybe we'll look at doing a gloss coat and decals.
Okay.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.